Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
I have to give Baroque Decay and their publishing and PR team props. We spend a lot of time on level 2 reaching out to developers and trying to gain all the necessary keys and materials to put together interesting gameplay segments and reviews for some underrated gems. That's the whole point of our show, Indie Please Add Details, to take a game that otherwise may have been dismissed on something as simple as cover art or overused genre tropes, and take a second to actually play the damn thing and form a reasonable opinion on whether it deserves your time and money or not. The team behind the Count Lucanor sent us an email that just said, "This is our game, here's everything you need to know, here's a code, we don't fuck around with embargoes, have fun." That level of confidence in the end product had me so intrigued that despite not even remembering requesting a copy of the game, I stuck it on and gave it a whirl. I can honestly say that I'm really glad that I did. The Count Lucanor feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. There's something just a little bit off about it, and I mean that in a good way. If you recall the first time you played Undertale and it kind of clicked at some point that the game was a little more than you had previously thought, that's the feeling I had about 30 minutes into the Count Lucanor. It's not quite 8-bit, but it's not 16 either. It's not quite a horror game, but it's not quite an RPG either. There's just something so gloriously bizarre about the whole thing. The basic story is that you are a boy named Hans, whose dad has gone off to war and whose mum is striving to make ends meet for the two of them. Hans is somewhat of a brat and decides one day that he's had enough. He wants to be rich and live in a castle. So after being given the last remaining possessions poor old mum has in this world, he buggers off into the mysterious woods in search of adventures and treasure. For a while, the game just kind of fucks with you a little bit. You feel like everything you've been given was almost all designed to be given away immediately, so you barely had a coin to your name. And after some typical RPG activities, saving old ladies, helping a merchant, feeding a donkey, etc., you stumble across a goat herder who resembles Huckleberry Finn. You decide to have a picnic with him and pass out from too much wine. And when you wake up, something is very, very wrong. Suddenly the world has become very sinister. The goats are, well, different. You notice the floating blue spectre in the distance, and instinct tells you to follow. Upon being introduced to the kobold, he gives you a simple task, and the reward for completing it is everything you ever wanted. You just have to guess his name. Now I say that like it's easy, but as you soon learn, it's the furthest thing from it. You have to essentially scour the entire castle to try and find letters that comprise the kobold's name. Color-coded doors opened by color-coded keys, etc. Traps are everywhere. Enemies and NPCs appear and disappear in weird little set pieces, much like Undertale, but they feel more random. You soon realize that you're not going to get a sword. There is no combat, only survival. There are many places to hide, certain time periods when areas are safer to maneuver than others. The puzzles are actually pretty damn good too, including the fact that they have multiple ways to solve them. It's also surprisingly horror heavy for the style of game that it is. The developers describe it as inspired by The Legend of Zelda, Yume Nikki, Silent Hill, and Dark Souls. Throw Undertale in there, and I think they've just about nailed it. The music is also stellar. Instant nostalgia, of course, but it's more than that. The soundtrack is actually songs by Johann Sebastian Bach, manipulated with chiptune tools. It takes some of the renowned composer's hidden gems and completely transforms them to create a uniquely and consistently eerie atmosphere. I had a great time with the Count Lucanor, and I'm so happy I followed my initial instincts. It is a completely unassuming little gem of an indie title that I think truly deserves all the praise it will inevitably get. The Count Lucanor is releasing on Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PS Vita on November 21st for $14.99. I highly recommend you keep your eye out for it.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.